In this session, we want to talk about local user accounts and groups within Server 2012. Server 2012 R2 gives us two separate interfaces for creating and managing local user accounts. One is the user accounts control panel, and the other one is the local users and groups snapping for MMC, which is included in Computer Management Console. Now, you can only create new user accounts in Control Panel on Windows Server 2012 or 2 if your server is part of a work group. If your server is joined to a domain or is a domain controller, then you will need to use the local user and group snapping to create new user accounts. If you check a domain controller, you will see that a domain controller has no local user or group accounts setting for you to configure. Now, there are two users that are created by default for your local users. One is the guest account, and the other is an administrative account. So when you create a new local user, that account is usually a standard user account without the privileges that an administrative account would have. If you need to change that account from a standard user account to an administrative account, you would have to go ahead and change the type of account. Let us take a look at a Server 2012 machine that is in a work group. And we're going to actually look at that local user account setting within Control Panel. Now, we can see here that our server 1 is part of a work group. Now, we're going to go into Control Panel by right-clicking on the Start menu, and we're going to click on Control Panel. Within Control Panel, we want to select User Accounts. Now, we're going to select User Accounts here, change account type. So we're going to double-click on that. And we have here, make changes to your account. You can see that we're logged on as the administrator here. So we're going to click on Manage Another Account. As you can see here by default, we have the administrator account and the guest account. And there's another account which I created earlier. I'm going to create an account here so that you can see how we create an account in the local user account control. So I'm going to just click Add a User Account. You're asked for the user account name, and let's say that the account name was called Class Account. Your password, we're going to type password 03. We're going to re-enter the password, PASSWORD 03. And then we need to give a password hint, and our password hint is going to be C account, standing for class account. And then we want to click on Next. So we see we have the account called class account, which is a local account, and this is a standard account. The following user will be able to sign into this PC locally as a local user. When we're through, we can simply click on Finish. So we can see that we have the administrator account. We have the guest account, which is turned off by default. And we have two new accounts, the P by No account and the class account. Choose the user you would like to change. So let us say here that we wanted P by No to become an administrator. We wanted to change P by No's account from just a standard account to administrator account. So we're going to click on P by No. And you can see in the left-hand side of this window, you will have a number of menu items. You can change the account name of P by No. You can change the password. You can change the account type. You can delete the account, or you can go and manage another account. We said we wanted to change the account type. So we're going to click on change the account type. And you see here we have two types of accounts. When you create a user, the user is by default a standard user. So this standard user account can use most software and change system settings that don't affect other users or the security of the PC. The administrator, on the other hand, is not limited. The administrator has complete control over the machine. And the administrator can change any settings. They can access all files, anything that is stored locally on the PC. So if you wanted to change P by No from standard to administrator, all you need to do is to click on administrator and click on change account type. So again, let us look at the things that we could change for a local user on the server. You can change the account name. You can change the password. You can change the account type. You can delete the account, or you can simply click on managing another account. Remember, you will only be able to create this local user account if your server is in a work group, meaning it is not joined to a domain. When you are joined to a domain, there is another console within computer management, local users and groups, in which you will be able to create the local group. And we now are going to take a look at local users and groups within the computer management console. Our server now, server 1, is part of the domain. We can see here that it's no longer a work group because we can see the domain name contoso/administrator. When we were in a work group, you actually saw work group. Now we want to click on the server manager icon to bring up server manager. And we want to go into computer management. So we're going to click on tools, computer management. Within computer management, we can see here local users and groups. So remember, this is the console that we want to use when we are creating a local user, and the computer must be a part of the domain. So we're going to click on local users and groups. And here we have two containers here, the user container and the group container. Let's open users. Here you can see we have the administrator account and the guest account. And you can see the two accounts that we created, class account and P by No. So when you create a local user in one container, it automatically is seen in the other. Now, we can do a number of things. We can right click on the account. We can set the password. We can go to all tasks here and also set the password. We can delete that user. We can rename the user. We can go into the properties for the user, where we will see what group the person is a member of. If we click on member, we will see that that user is a member of the users group. And let's close the property box for that user. Now, if I wanted to create a new user in this local users and groups container, all I would need to do is to right click on user and say new user. It looks a bit different from the user container that we created for the workgroup server. So you can go ahead and give the username, and we're going to call this username domain local user. So that's the username. The full name, we can go ahead and type the full name, or we can leave it out. For our example here, we're just going to leave it out. And we're going to type a password. We're typing the password 01. We're going to go again, password 01. And we can make a choice here. Do we want to make the user change the password when the user logs in for the first time? Or do we want to say user cannot change password never expires? The administrator has the choice. So here we're going to click on create. And we can go ahead and create another user, but we're going to close. And you can see now that we have the user that we created that we call domain local user. Very different containers. Let us go to the group container. Within the group container, you can see that you have users that are here by default. And let's go to the administrator. Let's say that I wanted to make a user an administrator using this console. I could click on administrators, go to the property box, and I could simply say add. So I would click add, look for the name of the user, and add that user to the administrators group. That way the user will become an administrator. Remember when we were adding a user using the user accounts within the workgroup server. To change the user from a standard user to administrator, we just had to change the account type. Well, here you simply add the user to the administrators group. And remember, you can right click on the user and you can delete, rename, change properties, do all the things that you could do to the user within the workgroup server. So that is the difference there between the local user that you would add for a workgroup server and the other container, which is local users and computers that you see here, which you will create for a server that is joined to the domain. Within this console, we're also able to create groups. You just need to right click on groups and click on new group. You type the name of the group. So let's say the group is called class group. You will put a description for the group. And you want to add the people who you want to be members of that group. So you click on add. And you click advanced. And here you're going to be asked for the credentials for the account with permissions for Contoso. And we're going to type our administrative account by typing administrator. And our password. And then we're going to say OK. So here we can now search for the persons who we want to be part of that local group. So you can click on Find Now. And we come back to our friend Ben Smith. So we're going to click on him. And we're going to say OK. And OK a second time. And now that you see Ben Smith is now a member of that local group, you can go ahead and add some more people to that group, or you can click create and create another group. We're simply going to close the group box. So you can create users, local users, create local groups, add members to the groups within the server that is part of a domain, or within a server that is a local, that is a work group server. We're going to close computer management, and we're back on the server dashboard. That is the end of this session. I want to thank you for listening.